Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me as always, it's Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
Yeah, ended up being a eventful morning right off the jump. Big
It's
news today.
always it's always whenever I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the day we start our summer fun, our little bit of themed schedule. Today was on pace to be a Mailbag Monday, and we will get to some mailbag questions. But it turned into a Martone Monday with the news that Porter Martone is going the NCAA route. He will be joining Michigan State. Will be joining fellow draft pick Shane Van Sage up there and a few others, including like Caden Lindstrom and players of that ilk. But before we get into that entire conversation, got to tell you, hit the like button. Do it. Hit the freaking like button. You know that the likes keep the lights on here, and that makes me happy having this job. So if you want me to remain happy, you will hit the like button. It's not hard. It's completely free. It's very low lift what I'm asking you to do here. Click a thumbs up on your screen. Couldn't be easier. Want to tell you about Die Hard Q&A night coming up at the PHLY studio. It is Monday, August the 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. Down here, we're near 10th and Spring Garden behind the Union Transfer. If you are a diehard, you can go to allphly.com right now and RSVP to this. It's a small donation to charity, and you'll be able to come in, talk some hockey with Charlie and I, have some food, have a few drinks, have some fun. Looking forward to this very much. Always great when we get a chance to get to know our diehards a little better, bring them in studio, have some conversations, have some fun. You will be able to do that just a few Mondays from now. I think that is all the relevant information. Check out the new merch as well. Oh, yeah, if you're not a diehard, scan that little QR code there with there's going to be some new benefits that I will introduce for diehards for this upcoming season and some future projects I have planned. But we'll talk about that when it's more appropriate, because right now, Charlie, it is Martone Monday. What was it, like probably 8:30 this morning? We got news from Elliot Friedman that Porter Martone, Flyers' most recent 6th overall pick, will be going the NCAA route, and he has chosen Michigan State. We heard this going back to even prior to the draft that he might be making the jump from Canadian Major Junior to the NCAA. We heard Penn State was in the mix. Penn State landed Gavin McKenna. Like, oh, what if they could team up these two? Michigan State was the runner-up for McKenna. They end up with Porter Martone. We have a lot to get into with this. Charlie is chock full of information, as he always is. So first and foremost, got some questions about this today, Charlie, in the Gargano chat.
I wonder what the big question is, William. I wonder.
Well, we'll get to the negative thing. The first thing is, because you and I, we've talked about possibly a workaround, whether he can come to camp without a contract, whether he could sign an ATO, take online classes. Does this prevent Porter Martone from coming to regular training camp and trying to make the team out of camp this fall?
So my understanding, based on the conversations I've had this morning, is Porter Martone will not be at camp. Now, whether it shuts the door in every way, whether some other team down the road can find some sort of loophole to the loophole to the loophole to pull this off, like, I don't know. I guess it's theoretically possible. The way the Flyers are approaching this and the way they approached this during the entirety of the conversations they've had with Porter Martone about the decision he was making was that if he went to college, if he chose to enroll in college, he would not be at camp. So he will not be at camp. My interpretation of the rules, and I believe the Flyers' interpretation of the rules as well, is that it wouldn't be allowed. That basically, number one, he would have to, if he stayed at camp longer than 48 hours, which obviously if he's taking a real run at making the team, he would have to be there longer than 48 hours. he would have to pay all of his expenses. Now, you could be like, well, hockey players are usually from wealthy families. I don't know how rich Martone family is. That said, training camp, if you're talking rookie camp through the end of camp, we're talking like 3+ weeks, travel to and from different cities. That gets real expensive real fast. So that's number one. I don't think it's likely that the Martone family would want to pay all of that out of their own pocket. Number two, I do believe that you are not allowed, that even if you haven't signed a contract, you are not allowed to play in games for a professional team and
Okay.
keep your NCAA eligibility. So that's number two, that Martone basically, yeah, maybe he could participate in camp, but he would not be able to play in preseason games. And if that's the case, then what's really the point of him being in camp? We're not really getting a good understanding of how good he is against NHL competition if he's not getting to play against other NHL teams. So that's number two. And then number three, and let me just pull up my notes because I have all my notes that I've been gathering. Also, my other understanding is that they allow you to keep your eligibility at development camp because it doesn't conflict with classes. Obviously, since September, it would conflict with classes, and that would negatively impact his NCAA eligibility if he was blowing off classes, which he obviously would be. So there's so many things that make this not allowed that the Flyers and Martone's camp basically approached it as, if you're choosing college, you're not going to be a camp. So he is not going to be a camp. Is it possible that some team years down the road can find a way to keep the NCAA happy on all these fronts? I guess I can't rule that out. But in this case, Martone is not going to be at camp. I can confirm that entirely.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't considered. Like we talked about the expense thing when all the Cutter drama played out. The idea, well, the NCAA players, they got to pay for themselves, and all right, it's one thing if you're like getting a hotel for camp in Voorhees for a couple of weeks. That's one thing. I hadn't considered like, oh yeah, how does he go? How does he play in the preseason games? How did like he has to pay his own way
Yeah.
to get on like the team bus and like stuff like that.
Theoretically, yeah.
There's just a lot of complications to the matter that it doesn't seem like you and I said, it feels like there's just so many conversations that have to happen between the NCAA and the league and the teams and everything. It just kind of feels like probably not. Maybe they work this out years down the line. It won't affect Porter Martone, but just in terms of the league and the NCAA and everything, figure out a workaround. But as of now, it seems, if not impossible, highly unlikely. And we are now not expecting Porter Martone at camp, which is definitely a bummer.
Yeah.
Just
I'm sure it's a bummer to Porter Martone. I'm sure he was looking forward to the possibility.
He talked about the possibility of making this team out of camp. That is seemingly off the table now. And that leads us to the thing everyone's probably got somewhere deep down in the back of their minds, or they're flooding the chat with it as we speak, because, did lose one of the top prospects over, I'm not saying this issue, but something similar. The Cutter situation, Charlie, and how that could play out here. This, by all accounts, was Porter's decision.
Yes. I have been told that this was Porter Martone's decision, that the Flyers basically put the ball in his court and said, look, if you want to sign your entry-level contract, we will have it drawn up for you right away, and you can try to make the team out of camp, and we will give you every chance to make the team. Now, we're not going to guarantee you a spot. You have to earn it, but we are happy to sign you an entry-level contract. That said, you might not make the team. Like, that's just the reality. You might, and if you don't make the team, you're not allowed to go to the AHL. We got to send you back to juniors. If you want to go to college, we're also very much on board with that. It's totally your call. My understanding is both sides, and I think both sides are right in this interpretation, both sides were of the opinion that there was really no point for him playing in the OHL another year. He's already played 3 seasons in the OHL. He's dominated for 2. I mean, last year he just took it apart, but even the year before, he was point per game. So this would have been his 4th season in the OHL. There just wasn't much more he was going to learn. Like, the issues that he needs to work on in his game are better using his immense size to his advantage and playing with more pace. It's not like the guys in the OHL were going to get bigger and faster just because he stayed. If anything, they were going to get smaller and slower because a bunch of guys have jumped to go to the NCAA. The league was going to be weaker than normal. So both sides agreed that was not an ideal developmental spot for him. I think both sides were like, yeah, the NHL would be great and college would be great, but the NHL wasn't a certainty. So I think what it came down to was, let's go with the certain option. Now, look, is it possible that Porter Martone changes his mind and decides, I don't want to be a Philadelphia Flyer? Yes, anything is possible. Once you go the college route and you don't have a guy signed to an entry-level contract, it leaves that possibility open for a guy to have a change of heart. What I can tell you, though, is that the Flyers are very confident that this is a completely different situation, that Porter Martone is committed to being a Flyer, that this is a guy who grew up a Flyers fan. He's got pictures with Wayne Simmons that they showed at camp. They really don't think that he would do that to the Flyers. They believe that communication during this entire process was very strong. They've been in direct contact with Martone's parents, with his agent, with his entire camp, that they have dotted every I and crossed every T, so they believe that this will not go bad. Now, look, if you are just a pessimistic Flyers fan at heart, you can be panicky for the next 9 months. Feel free. But the Flyers are as confident as you can get that this will not happen again.
We are now, like, do you have the one friend who, like, got cheated on in high school and now is paranoid about every relationship? Like, overly so, like, zero. And listen, I guess it came out of nowhere with Cutter, and we all have our conspiracy theories and everything about what exactly happened. And was it Tortorella's fault? Was it Briere's fault? Should Chuck Fletcher have seen it coming? But I really, I was laughing through most of that, Charlie, because, like, yes, this is a possibility with everybody who goes the NCAA route. You can't be afraid of it. Like, you can't fear this, though, especially now that more and more players are going to make the jump. Now that you don't lose your NCAA eligibility simply by playing in one of the 3 CHL leagues, like, more guys, when they turn 18, are going to do what Porter Martone and Gavin McKenna are doing. You can't be afraid of it. And I know it's always going to be in the back of our minds, but it's up to the Flyers to handle the situation, and I have no reason to believe they aren't. And if anything, after having lived through it and losing a guy, they're going to be more sensitive to it than most. They hopefully are aware of everything that could go wrong and will take all steps to make sure it doesn't happen. Now, the idea that the jump was Porter's idea, I'm sure he is a little bummed he's not going to have a chance to make this team. But we talked about, I am glad he is going to the NCAA, because once you have the, 98-point, 100-point season, whatever, like, what do you now learn in a league with 16 and 17-year-olds? What is it that you are going to take from this year of development? We've already talked about that with Jet Luchenko. We now have a A-tier prospect, which we didn't call Jet at the time. Like, you don't want to have that same maybe lost season that you have in the development.
Yeah, and some stagnation. You worry about
stagnation. That is a better way to put it. And the NCAA is just going to be a better league. Like, it's men now with the CHL players coming over. You have an infusion of even more talent. Like, I see nothing but good coming from this, even though that possibility, all right, he had opportunity number 1 to sign the ALC. He hasn't. I just don't think we need to be as paranoid about this as we are. But listen, we're going to be, because it's happened.
Yeah, and I think you made a really good point, because maybe I'm being naive, but I think you made a really good point about the fact that, like, this already happened to them once, so you would think they're going to take every precaution. I have to think they know that if it were to happen a second time, like they all might get fired. Because then suddenly it retcons the Gauthier situation to be, well, obviously they messed that up, because then the same thing happened again 2 years later. So I'd have to believe that they would only have gone this route unless they were really, really confident that Martone is not going to pull a Gauthier. Plus, and this also plays into it, I think, and I don't know this for 100% fact, but I know this for about like a 99% fact. I think in the wake of the Gauthier mess, they have really buttoned up their pre-draft research on the personalities of the player, on the family situation, on any types of red flags that could lead to something like that happening again. I have gotten no indication in my interviews with Porter Martone, my interactions with him, that he is anything but a really humble, good kid who I don't think would go back on his word. I mean, I guess you never know, because you truly do never know what's going on inside someone else's head. But I do think the Flyers have done even more research than they used to in response to the fact that they clearly missed something about Cutter Gauthier. And now it's kind of like, we're never going to let that happen again. Not even just in terms of this decision, but in terms of like not even drafting guys who they will worry that could happen to.
And that is understandable. Yeah, like I am just going back to your point, it retcons the whole thing. I am willing to accept their explanation of the Cutter situation as long as we have nothing that approaches it again. Now, the Kolosov thing, it's just kind of weird, and he seems to be getting
and if anything, they caved to Kolosov.
Yes.
Like that could have been in part a reaction to the Gauthier thing, where it's like, well, we'll just give him what he wants because we don't want to lose this guy we're high on.
Like even you last summer, you were like, listen, I don't know what's going on with Kolosov, but I do know you can't lose 2 top 10 prospects inside of a year. Yeah. Like you kind of have to figure out whatever the hell the problem is and fix it. And I fully believe that they have. If we have reason for concern later, obviously we'll revisit. This is not a concern of mine right now, Charlie, because it comes down to bed sheets. If he had the bed sheets, then we're all good. If he was a pajama boy, then everything's gonna work out.
I also think, and this is important based on what I've heard this morning, while again, this isn't a like you're guaranteed a spot type of thing. The Flyers don't do that. That's not the way they do business. It's not like, well, we're going to guarantee you this. I do get the sense that as long as Martone's freshman year, probably his only year in college, as long as it's not a total disappointment disaster, and I'm very high on him as a prospect, so I don't think it will be, as long as he has a good season, I think that the Flyers would very quickly sign him to an ELC at the end of the season to get him under contract. We're not going to see that weird, well, maybe you could wait, maybe you want to go back, maybe not. It's going to be like, all right, your season's over. You want to play NHL games? Kid?
Yeah.
Let's get this signed like 2 hours after you guys lose in the Frozen Four.
Yeah, that's the I don't see this going even the Alex Bump route where he's like, well, let me, get that ATO in and all. Like, no, man, here you are. And that's, again, we talked about that on the Gargano show this morning. If all this plays out and he goes to Michigan, I mean, he's going to Michigan State now. It doesn't sound like he's coming to camp.
In fairness, I haven't gotten confirmed that he's going to Michigan State, but if Elliot Friedman says that he's going to Michigan State.
Assuming all of this plays out as we expect it to, I am operating under the assumption that in the spring, we see Porter Martone in orange and black. Like that is very much what I am expecting now. Because, yeah, like you said, high on him as a prospect. We kind of knew he was going to go this direction. Maybe he would forego it for a chance to make the team, but here we are. He's going the NCAA route. And I am expecting now to get to do an emergency show at some point, in March or April or whatever, talking about Martone joining the Philadelphia Flyers, signing his ELC. They're going to burn a year for however many games are left in the season, and we go from there.
Fingers crossed. So want to talk through a few more things about the Martone situation, but let's hit our first break.
Yeah, let's it's 20 after. Let's go to that first commercial. I scramble to bring up Notion here. Just give me 1 second, because I got to tell you, simple enough. 1-800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
I have been telling listeners for over a year now, there are simply no other options when it comes to new flooring. You have to go with Empire Today for one reason. Empire Today has flooring experts. It is nothing like the big box store experience where you're looking for someone to talk to, and if you're lucky enough to find that person, you quickly realize they have no idea what they're talking about, and you're on your own. No, the Empire Today flooring experts are with you every step of the way, and they take all those precise measurements for you. They answer all your questions, and something no one else will do, they'll bring the showroom right to your home so you can pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space, in your space, see how it all looks with your furniture, up against your paint colors, and so much more. They take those measurements, they answer all your questions, and most importantly, maybe, Empire Today gets you that clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing, and you can schedule installation as soon as the next day because you want your house looking right now, not 6 weeks in the future, immediately. Empire knows that. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners, listen up because you can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. You heard that right. $350 off with discount code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. Now it's Pico time.
Charlie, I walked into my garage yesterday and it was a sauna in there.
Yeah, this Philly heat, especially now, it's no joke.
This humidity is here. So what I ended up doing, I got like 20 bags of ice. I went into my backyard, filled a baby pool with them. Nice little inflatable I have back there. Did a little cold plunge.
Why didn't you just turn on your air conditioner?
I'm trying to be energy efficient. I hear the cold plunges are good for you. You seem like a cold plunge kind of guy. And I'm trying to save a little bit of cash as well.
Okay, well, instead of filling up a baby pool, and I don't believe you have any children, William, but instead of filling up a baby pool that you don't yet need, you could just check out Pico's energy saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut your bills.
So no more ice?
It's the summer. Flyers aren't playing. They've already melted all the ice in the rink.
Yeah, that seems like what's up. I'm going to have to check this out. It seems like the way to go, Charlie. Thank you.
So just head to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it.
Welcome back. Thanks to our friends at Pico. Charlie's face when I say you seem like a cold plunge kind of guy. It's just like,
I don't know why you would think that.
I don't know. It's like, seems like a gym thing. You're like
Is it?
Isn't it?
I just think it's like a weird thing.
It's a weird. All right. I don't know much about the subject. I'm going to be honest.
I don't know much about it either. It's just something I would never be interested in doing.
All right.
I'm thinking like when the people who go to like Sea Isle and plunge in the polar plunge. Like,
yeah,
that's
the polar bear plunge.
That sounds like the most miserable experience ever. I would never do that.
I know very little about any of it. All right, Charlie. So we have tackled the particulars of can he come to camp and stuff, and seems like that's not in the cards. And we have, I hope, put some people's minds at ease about a repeat of the Cutter situation.
As much as we can, because you truly never know.
You never know. Like, there's no way to know anything, especially when it's just like, is something in the next 9 months going to set this guy off? You know, like we send him a care package and it's got the wrong peanut M&Ms in it, and suddenly, like, okay, man, he hates the brown, and now he wants to be a Ranger and nothing else. Like, I don't know if you can account for anything like that, but it feels like it's not going to happen again. I seriously hope we're not living through that one more time, because I want Danny and Jonesy to work out, and I don't know if that's going to be the case if this happens with a 5th and 6th overall pick within the time frame of 2.5 years. Let's get to some other stuff now. So Michigan State as the choice, as far as we know. I said this earlier today. They seem to really like the idea of having Bonk and Barkey together in London, being able to allocate. Yeah, man. two guys with one scout or whatever, great. We can keep an eye on them using minimal resources. But just like that support system there, you get to know each other a little bit. It feels like that would kind of breed more, like, I don't know, all inclusion in the team. Like, that would stop a Cutter situation from happening because you have another guy in the locker room who's probably going to end up where you're going to end up. What do you think about the choice of Michigan State and having Van Sage as a teammate?
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it'll hurt because Van Sage certainly seems to be very much, on board with the idea of becoming a Flyer. Martone very much does as well, but obviously there's going to be more concern about Martone than Van Sage changing his mind because one's a blue chip prospect and one is hey, it would be cool if he's a really good middle sixer, whereas Martone is one of the potential cornerstones of the future of the organization. So I get that. Michigan State, I mean, it's a good program, obviously. They were runners-up for Gavin McKenna. So Gavin McKenna ultimately goes to Penn State. Penn State was obviously linked to Martone. They were linked to Martone in the lead up to the draft, even before it became clear that the Flyers were getting Porter Martone with the 6th overall pick. Those rumors existed. There might be a little bit of an element here of a little bit of payback on Michigan State's part. Like, oh, okay, you're going to nab Gavin McKenna. Well, we're going to get the guy you wanted too, even though I'm sure if Michigan State would have the choice, they probably would have picked Gavin McKenna over Porter Martone. No disrespect to Porter Martone. Also, there's the fact that Michigan State then had a bunch of NIL money that was available because they obviously saved a bunch for McKenna. They weren't using it for him because Penn State was the ones who nabbed him. So now you have a spot in your budget opened up. Martone suddenly is available, and maybe you wouldn't have targeted him if you would have spent $200,000, $300,000 of NIL money on Gavin McKenna, but now you've got that money available. You might as well toss it at Porter Martone. Why not? That probably also plays into part of why Martone made the pick. Like, if he knows the Flyers are almost certainly going to sign with the ELC at the end of the season anyway, he's going to get that signing bonus. Oh, why not pick up an extra, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 worth of money to put in that retirement fund?
Yeah, that was the. I think I heard Michigan State offered McKenna like $300 or $350, and Penn State was just like, "We're not losing," so they doubled it. Yeah. They're like, "Here's $7."
Yeah. Well, also Penn State doesn't have the same. They don't have the same prestige that Michigan State has. They're not as established of a program, so they do have to pay a little bit of the like. We're not BU, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Like, we're not one of the big guys, so we got to pay a little bit more to convince you. Which fair. But I'm sure Michigan State didn't. I'm sure Michigan State didn't cheap out on Martone. Let's put it that way.
I that would be surprising, but yeah, Penn State is trying to become one of those powerhouses, and given their incredible reach of alumni, and obviously having the Pagulas behind them and all that, I'm sure they can, but they're not there yet. Like, it's not the selling point of Denver. Like, yo, guess what? You're going to be in the Frozen Four. Like, that's happening. Penn State's still building towards becoming that yearly powerhouse. And it's, they got Gavin McKenna, so probably doesn't hurt. But a consolation prize, pretty decent for Michigan State in Martone.
They're a good team. Like, they are going to be a good team. They did lose some guys. They lost Carson Dorward, who was one of their top scorers last year. Flyers signed him. They also lost Ike Howard, who I think they probably knew that as long as he got traded, he was gone. Like, he just wasn't signing with the Lightning. But if he got traded somewhere else, he was going to sign. He just didn't want to sign with that team. But Howard was their top scorer. I believe he won the Hobie Baker, right? So that's a big loss. However, they have a monster recruiting class coming in that should get this team, very much in the conversation for national championship. They have Trey Augustine coming back, who's probably the best goalie in college hockey, one of the better goalie prospects in the world. So he's still there. I believe Charlie Strommel is coming back as well. He's a top prospect for the Wild. He was one of their better scorers. But in terms of the new guys, obviously they got Martone. Martone's a 6th overall pick, really, really good player. So he's going to help. They're also bringing in Caden Lidstrom, who was the 4th overall pick last year's draft by Columbus. He missed most of last year with the back injury, did come back at the end of the year. As long as he's healthy, he should be a stud. So he's a big ad as well. Riker Lee, who was one of my favorite prospects in this year's draft, he got taken in the late first round. He's a Michigan State commit, so he's going to be going there. And then they have a bunch of guys who were drafted like non-first round guys. Eric Nilsson was a second round pick to Anaheim in this draft. Then they have a bunch of dudes who were drafted in later rounds, like Anthony Romani was a 6th-round pick for the Canucks. We've got Austin Baker, 7th-round pick for the Red Wings. Melvin Strahl, goalie, 5th-round pick for Columbus, so he'll be backing up Augustine. Like, they have a lot of guys that they're bringing into this class that have potential NHL pedigree. Guys coming from juniors, guys coming from other programs. This is an exciting group of players that they're going to have, that Martone is going to have with him. Obviously, they also have Vansagi, who is a early to mid 2nd round pick. He's got a lot of promise. He played for Michigan State last year. He's coming back. So Martone's joining a good team. Now, it is a lot of new faces, so that does add some, maybe some uncertainty there, like what's his role going to be. But I have to believe if you are bringing in the 6th overall pick, you've probably promised him a prominent role on your team, I would think. So I'm expecting Martone to get, top 6 minutes, power play 1. I'm expecting him to get heavy usage on this team. And because I think very highly of Porter Martone, I think he's going to do a lot with those minutes.
Yeah, it's it's a lot like the way you talked about Alex Bump. Like, I don't think Bump is penciled in to make this team. Like, oh yeah, well, he's just kind of making it. I think he's so good, he's going to earn this. And I think that's something similar. And Michigan State, like, they can easily probably promise this because it's like, well, yeah, he's going to live up to his end of the bargain. He was one of the best players in all of Canadian juniors last year. So it would simply make sense. Is there any other notes or anything you want to get to before we get to the mailbag questions? A number of them have to do with Porter Martone anyway.
Yeah, the one thing that I do wonder, and this is not something I was able to really dig up this morning, but one thing I do wonder is how much Martone's just okay performance at development camp impacted this. Because I do wonder if he goes out there at dev camp and blows the doors off everybody, if the Flyers are kind of like, look, if you play like this in September, you're making the team. I suspect that the conversation maybe was a little bit more muted. We're being like, hey, like, we believe in you, man. And we could easily see a world where you show up in September and you're just awesome because you're well rested. You had a good summer of training. You're not in like my head spinning because I was going through interviews every day and traveling to and from. And I played in the Worlds a month ago against NHL players. Maybe I was a little tired. There's a world where he could have easily showed up to camp and blown the doors off and earned a spot on the team. But after watching him develop in camp, he looked like a guy who wasn't quite yet ready. And I wonder if that colored the conversations a bit. Not that the Flyers were telling him, you're not ready, because I don't think that was the case. I think they're smart enough not to go that route because of the possibility of alienating a player who's obviously a proud player who thinks he's ready. He thinks he can make the team. But the Flyers may have positioned it more as like, look, we're going to give you every chance to make the team, but there's no guarantee. Whereas if he would have had an amazing development camp, maybe they would have positioned it as like, yeah, you got a leg up. You kind of have to do you have to obviously flop not to make this team. So I do wonder if the development camp performance maybe had an impact on this a little bit. Also, on the flip side of it, it may have just like showcased the reality of the situation, that maybe he truly isn't quite yet ready to excel. Like, if you threw him in the NHL, I'm sure he could hold his own. I don't think he would get hurt, but he might finish with 28 points. And then people are going to lose their minds. Like, oh, you told me this guy was going to be a superstar. Whereas maybe now you give him the year in the NCAA to grow. And then when he does turn pro next year, he scores 55 points and everybody's like, oh yeah, this dude's going to be a stud.
Yeah, that kind of crossed my mind as well. Like, he knows what he did out there. He knows, like, yeah, I felt good, but when you say, oh, Alex Bump, he went out and he should, like, he's older, he's more mature physically and mentally. That's just what happens when you have a few more years to grow and develop. But like, he looked polished. He looked head and shoulders above everyone else at camp. If Martone sees that too, maybe he's Yeah, listen, I'm sure being an NHLer is a lot of fun, but if I'm gonna just be struggling to keep my head above water, is that as fun as going and being a college star for 9 months? Like,
Yeah,
I
fair
bet
point.
that life's really good too, you know? Especially now with all the NIL money, they don't even have to hide, like, when they're driving around in an Escalade like Reggie Bush. Um, just I wonder if that was, like, maybe colored his decision more so than, like, how the Flyers framed it, because I'm sure the Flyers are like, "Listen, we'll make whatever you gotta make whatever makes you happy works, but how can we make this work for everybody?" I wonder if he was like, "Yeah, man, Michigan State, not a bad option." Like, I do think. All right, let's hit some of these mailbag questions before we get to the next commercial. Um First one here from Bat Fastard. Great name.
Beautiful.
Good decision, but Martone said he wanted to make the team out of camp. Do you think the organization made the decision for him? Wonder if he's okay with going to college this year. And does Jet make the team along with Bump? We kind of tackled the first half of this. It seems like this was maybe a decision made in conjunction with the team, but a Porter Martone decision.
I think it was ultimately Martone made the decision. That said, I don't think the Flyers were being like, yeah, if you come to camp, you're definitely making this team.
Yes.
And obviously that is going to influence the decision, because if the feedback he's getting from the Flyers is, hey, if you show up to camp and have a great camp, you're on the team. But if you kind of play the way you did at development camp, probably not, then that's going to maybe sway you in a different direction than it would if you're just like, yeah, Tyson Forrester's injured. We took you 6th overall. You're making this club. Then maybe he's more likely to say, well, screw college. I want to be an NHL player.
Now, the second part of this, it's different positions, but do you think this increases the chance of Jet making the team? Just, well, we do have injuries to Tyson Forster, Dvorak, Cates. We have guys who can play wing or center. Jet, do you think this increases his chance of making the team? I don't think it hurts.
Yeah.
Just one fewer young guy that he has to outshine to maybe get a chance, one fewer blue chip guy that he has to outperform, but I don't know if they're like necessarily related beyond that.
Yeah. Yes and no, because it would have been tough for me to envision a world where all three of them made the team, where it was Bump, Luchenko, and Martone, just because there's only so many spaces in the lineup. Like, yes, they play different positions, but for Luchenko to make the team at center, he's going to have to push someone over to wing, which then takes up a wing spot that could go to Martone. So there was an impact there, to be sure. Now, this is never going to see the light of day. We're going to have to do another one.
Yeah.
But Bill and I did a mini pod last week projecting our ideal lineups. And interestingly enough, I did not have Martone on my ideal lineup because my thought process was I watched him at development camp. He did not look ready to me. I had Luchenko in my lineup. So, and I believe, Bill, you had all three, right?
I think I had all three.
I think you had all three.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it's like, yeah, I guess so, because I didn't have Martone in the lineup, and now I know for a fact he's not going to be in the lineup, so that maybe makes it more likely Luchenko makes it. But I always thought Luchenko had a pretty good chance of making it.
If we were to assign odds, I think the long shot would have been Martone, simply because, and not because of pedigree or what I think of him, just because of, honestly, your report of how he looked at dev camp and how set they kind of are at wing. Now, when you draft a guy 6th overall, and if he pushes someone out, he pushes someone out.
Yeah.
Like, you make the space. But I kind of like what we have, and it didn't seem like oh no, man, he's got to make it sort of situation where other teams and other positions, sometimes that happens where, the future of our franchise rests on this guy. He's making the team. Matvei Michkov last year. Now, he just tore it up in the preseason, scored a bunch of goals, game winners, stuff. But it was, hey, if you assign him to the AHL, he's going to be playing in the KHL. So, this is your only option.
And I think they knew that he was clearly ready. He's 1 year older. He had the 1 year after his draft year. This was Martone coming right out of his draft.
Yes.
Now, look, I don't want to downplay how good of a prospect Porter Martone is. He's a very good prospect. But it is worth noting that, like, this is a guy who was taken 6th overall in a draft that was generally not viewed to be an amazing one. Like, those types of guys are not usually thrust into an NHL role immediately. Now, they can be if they go to camp and just kill it. It's certainly, the door's open. But this is not, Martone is not on the level of like Adam Fantilli and Leo Carlson and Michkov if he would have been able to come right to the NHL after draft day. Like, he's not quite their level of prospects. So, yes, he wanted to make the NHL because, of course, he wants to make the NHL. But 6th overall picks don't usually make the NHL right after being drafted. And this wasn't a super amazing draft also.
So I think, what number wasn't Lucas Spiza like 17th overall?
Yeah, well, the Flyers are insane.
Yeah, well, the Flyers, exactly. All right, before we get to the rest of these mailbag questions, let's take our second commercial break. Got to tell you about our friends at Golden Nugget Jewelers, because for the past 30 years, Golden Nugget has operated out of that very same location at 8th and Chestnut, right in the heart of the city in downtown Philly. But customers from all across PA, Jersey, even down to Baltimore and up to NYC, they come to Golden Nugget Jewelers to find that perfect engagement ring or wedding band. And it's because their staff is highly trained and dedicated to providing a personalized shopping experience. Trust me, fellas, I've been on the ring hunt before. It's stressful. You don't know what you're doing. You have no idea what you should be spending, what's worth it, what isn't, what's in style. You need help. You need an expert. You need Golden Nugget Jewelers. This is maybe the most money you've ever spent all at once in your entire life. You need to feel like you're getting the best product. You're not getting ripped off, and you can trust who you are buying this ring from, and that is our friends at the family-owned and operated Golden Nugget. They've also got a vast selection of course, the wedding bands and engagement rings, but also high-end watches, fashion jewelry, diamond necklaces, bracelets, and so much more. And each engagement ring purchase comes with a final cleaning and written appraisal. So make sure you check out Golden Nugget, because you deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com today to learn more. And while we're here, got to tell you about our friends at Parx Casino, because whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win on the BetParx online casino app. You got to check out new casino games like Huff and More Puff and Fireblaze Sky Queen, which is a BetParx exclusive. It's the only app I use for all my favorite casino games, and it's right in the palm of my hand. You can play blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and hot online slots like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortunes, and Cleopatra. You can also play slots based on your favorite streaming shows like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Peaky Blinders, and so much more. It's where all of your favorite slots and classic casino games are, wherever you are. So check it out now, and new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. All you got to do is go to betparx.com and download the app right now and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. Must be 21 and older, and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. BetParx. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Charlie. Now we have to revisit our favorite topic here. A question from Ball Go Boom. Are you at all worried about Martone pulling a Cutter? I can't help but feel the same type of worry over it. And this just gets back to, we will forever be scarred. There's nothing I think we can say here that will put people at ease 100%. But we can point to, I think they've learned their lesson. I think this was not a contentious decision the way perhaps the Cutter one was. And he liked the team growing up, which counts for something, I guess.
You would hope. Look, I'm not going to tell you not to have feelings, because that's part of being a fan.
Yeah.
And y'all got burned by Cutter Gauthier.
It happened.
I get it.
It happened.
But the hard truth of it is, like, you can't be scared to draft college kids. You can't be terrified every time a kid that's a high pick of the Flyers goes to college. At some point, we're all going to need to get over this. Like, it's just like, because if you are if you are purposely avoiding taking college players high in the draft because of what happened with Cutter Gauthier, your rebuild isn't going to work because you're cutting yourself off from such a big part of the scene. And look, the concept here would have been like, well, just put him in the NHL. Like that would have been all well and good until he struggles in the NHL. And then the same people who are like, how could you let him go to college are then screaming and yelling, how could you throw him in the NHL when he clearly wasn't ready?
All right, here's my question about this then. We've talked about the college versus CHL route. Like this benefits Porter Martone because he gets a bump in competition. We've talked about just the college schedule where, a player needs to get bigger, stronger, faster, which all 18-year-olds do in order to be their best selves down the line in the NHL. Well, the college schedule is you've got 2 games on the weekend and you've got the whole week to practice and work out. That's really good for like getting bigger, stronger, and faster. Do you think the NHL, if you struggle, is maybe holding a player back from developing? If he's given the time every night, but he's not doing well in it, do you think that hurts his development?
Look, it's tough to say.
Yeah,
I could see a world where it would hurt, like by rushing a guy to the NHL. That said, there's also worlds where guys struggle to start their NHL career and then take advantage of that early experience and eventually do develop into great players. So I hate these hypothetical questions about development because the hard truth of it is none of us know. None of us know what the right thing for a guy's development is. None of us know because there's no silver bullet. There's no one way that's the best for a guy's development. I do believe that in this case, I don't know what else he would have learned at the OHL level. Now, whether him being maybe not quite ready for the NHL, but still trying to keep his head above water, whether that's better or worse than excelling in the NCAA, it could be, but I don't think there is a clear-cut yes or no answer. Who knows? We're never going to know because we don't have a time machine. Maybe, maybe not.
That's everyone's development path is different. There's no way to know for sure. Like Charlie, you're not allowed to. We're not able, as of now, to visit these alternate universes and see all the possible outcomes. So there's just the path a player takes, and when they make it, you go, it was right, and when they don't, you go, oh, they should have done something else, and it will or won't be true for the next guy. There's just no way to know. All right, from Adam Plenamento, I guess. This is, again, do you think he had an idea he wasn't making the team out of the camp? And is it still possible to make the team after committing? Love the show. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like there's other options. Now he's not going to be at camp, and he will be spending the season with Michigan State. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, the only potential caveat there is if and when his season ends.
Yes.
If it's before the Flyers season ends, the Flyers could sign him to an entry-level contract at the end of the year and get him in games. Now, if Michigan State goes all the way to the national championship game, it could be 1 or 2 games. If they don't make the tournament at all, it could be 7 or 8. Like, it just comes down to how their season goes. They're going to most likely be a top-tier team. They usually are. So it's probably going to last quite a while, at the very least, last into the tournament itself. Now, whether they go far in the tournament, I guess it just comes down to whether they get the job done when it counts. But Michigan State will go into the season expected to be an NCAA tournament team, and then we'll see where they go from there. They certainly have the talent.
Well, Charlie, I think you're discounting the possibility of the Flyers making the playoffs and adding 6th overall pick Porter Martone to the lineup.
It's possible.
As they do it. It's a possibility.
It's possible.
We have seen it. It happened.
It has happened before.
Yeah, Cale Makar stepped off of the NCAA ice right into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Zeev made the jump last year, so it's a thing that happens. All right, from Adam Shaw, lineup question for Charlie because they're his fave. Do we see Cates get a look at left wing in the top 6 this year with Martone going NCAA and Forster may be hurt? Cates is much more of a known quantity than Bump. Only other option I see is Dvorak, but what would be the point? I think there's going to be a lot of juggling.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we have our ideal lineup thing and we have to re-record it because it's like, well, guess what? Porter Martone ain't going to be in it. So there's no point in releasing this after the information came out. But like, we have that lineup. Maybe one of our ideal lineups is what they have on opening night when, we see on pregame the way they order the lines, and it could be different within 15 minutes. But I definitely see a world where Cates gets some time on the wing this year.
Yeah, I think the Flyers have left that door open. They've noted that Noah Cates has the flexibility that he can move over to wing. They know he can play well there. They also know he can play well at center, as he did all of last year, and center is the more valuable position. So my inclination would be to keep Cates at center. But hey, if Jet Luchenko has a really good camp, you're going to have to move one of those centers over to wing. With Cates, he can do it. He's done it before on this very team. Dvorak is also an option, as Andrew mentions. That said, Dvorak was signed with something of a handshake promise of you're going to get a look at center. So maybe that's not something they would do right away. Maybe Cates would be the first guy they move over to wing to accommodate Jet Luchenko if he makes the team. But I agree with you, Bill. They're going to be juggling lines. I'm sure Cates will get some time on the wing. But going back to Andrew's point about Bump, I think there's very much a world where Alex Bump is in the top 6 at wing to start the year because he has a really good camp and they want to put him with talented players. I very much think that's on the table.
Yeah, and just we know what Rick Tocchet wants to do probably, and one of the things that impressed us about Alex Bump, I know for me in the NCAA tournament, was this is a straight line player who is going to help this team on the forecheck. The little things in his game, the board battles, the physical maturity. This kind of seems like the kind of dude they need if they are going to make the transition from a one and done rush chance team to a team that establishes a little bit more on the forecheck. I think he could definitely be in there as well. Let's see. From Chuck Hextall, great name. Do you think the Flyers have been drafting based on what the head coach likes? Jet because Torts likes speed, 2025 draft because Rick likes big guys who can win board battles and play dump and chase.
It's an interesting question, but I don't think it's that simple. I think, look, the fact that Jet was a very good skater, I'm sure played into it, but I don't think it played into it because of John Tortorella. I think it played into it because the Flyers rated him higher because he's a plus skater, and that made him a more attractive prospect. Now, with this draft, do I think that Rick Tocchet was pounding the table get me big dudes who hit? No, I don't. But I think the Flyers overall looked at their prospect pool and said, we need more guys that are built for playoff hockey. Let's go a little bit bigger this draft if we can and go with guys with high compete. And I'm sure Tocchet was very much on board with that. And I think that's kind of a byproduct of the way they're trying to build this organization, and that they want, the coach, the GM, and the president of hockey operations to all be on the same page. And I think Tocchet agrees with them. And that's part of why they hired him in the first place, because they want the triumvirate to be truly on the same page, as opposed to what it was with John Tortorella, which was Jonesy and Danny were on the same page most of the time, and Torts was kind of off on an island a fair amount of the time as well.
This draft, yes, maybe these are quote unquote more Tocchet players, but the whole league wants bigger guys.
Yeah, this was a draft-wide thing.
There was only 20 guys. There was only a few guys taken who were under 6 feet in the whole freaking draft.
Sure.
There weren't that many. The whole league is looking at Florida and being like, we want that. And I can't say I blame them. The old Chip Kelly quote, Charlie, big guys beat up little guys. This is a sport in which there is a ton of contact, a ton of small area battles. I like a bigger, stronger dude to win those a lot of the time. So I think we talk about confirmation bias. Maybe these are Tocchet guys, but it's because they got Tocchet because he likes what they like. Like Charlie was saying, They all agree. How long has Keith Jones been being yeah, we need to get bigger. We know it. We know the team needs to be bigger than it is. Brent Flair told you in your sit down. Yeah, I don't know if we're all that crazy about a starting defense that has Cam York, Emil Andre, and Jamie Drysdale as 50% of it. they want to be bigger. And
Yeah,
I
they
just
do.
think this was kind of them building towards that. All right, let's do one more of these before we get to the super chats. I want to do Luca Diadel. He says, "What's the easiest way to watch a variety of college hockey games without spending a lot of money?" ESPN Hulu Plus is how I do it. ESPN Plus, Hulu, whatever the hell it is. I think it's a pretty affordable route.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, you get all of Hulu's programming, including Shoresy, which we're going to review tomorrow. Make sure you're all here for Tuesday Reviews Day. And all the ESPN broadcasts to the NHL. They have a ton of college hockey, other sports. Is there some unknown underground way for people to steal all this content, Charlie? Do you know about?
There might be, but I don't know if I'm gonna say that on air. You can, if you do some digging, you can find some okay quality streams if you really want to. I'm gonna have to look into Michigan State and see, because I mean, now you've got Martone, you've got Bansagi. Not only is it the Flyers' top prospect, but another really good prospect, top 10 prospect in the organization, playing for the same team. I'm unsure if there's some sort of like you can pay just for Michigan State games, but I'll certainly be looking into that.
All right, and with that, let's hit those super chats. All right, I think we have 4 or 5 of them today. Bree, if you will show us the first one, here it is, a big one here from Definitely Maybe. We cannot underestimate the importance of having a fellow Russian on the team for Michkov. A fellow Russian teammate can act as crucial support system for Mish, reducing potential feelings of loneliness or isolation.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That said, like, Igor Zamula is still on this team. I know most people don't want him on this team, it seems like, but he's still on this team and they have a good relationship. So I at the very least, Zamula will be on the team. Having Fedotov in the minors and Kolosov wherever he's going to be, I don't think that will kill Mishkov's comfort level. Having Zamula, who I have no reason to think won't be at the very least on the roster, maybe not in the lineup every night, but definitely on the roster, that should help in that regard. Plus, he spent a year in the NHL now, so he's definitely getting better at speaking English. I agree it's good to have a countryman or two on the team, but as the year went on, he got more and more comfortable talking to his teammates. He's definitely gotten better at English. So as the years go on, it will be less and less important, I would say.
It does feel like, just personality-wise, like we all remember the Kolosov stories. He's alone in his hotel room, blah, blah, blah. Matvei Michkov seems like a social being, and he will not shy away from being a part of team activities, whether there's a Russian there or not. It just kind of seems like he's a guy who values having teammates to have fun with. So whether they're Russian or not, I don't think you're going to run into the same drawbacks that other players may have. Just seems like a pretty outward personality. All right, let's check out this next one here from Linden49. You guys are the best. Oh, Bill, beware of Kiss Cam.
Bill, you better not cheat on Ava. She's awesome.
That's my whole world would fall apart. He's always beware of the Kiss Cam.
Also, I don't think, Bill, you don't strike me as someone who would ever attend a Coldplay concert.
I would go to a Coldplay concert with Ava because she likes them.
Okay.
And she said the show was fun. I'm all for seeing a good live show.
Fair.
I'm not paying the prices Coldplay charges, but there's always a workaround. But it's not necessarily my thing. I can't imagine myself at too many Coldplay shows.
Fair.
All right, let's check out another one here. Another from Definitely Maybe. With Forster out with the injury and Martone to college, Bump Luchenko will make the team. And then he goes through some lines here.
Yeah, Definite Maybe is really into this Gurbenkin making the team thing, and not just making the team, but like playing in the top 6. I remain skeptical that is something that needs to happen.
I would love for that to be the case as we trigger overtime here just for the last couple of super chats. Make sure you go to allphly.com if you are part of the TV audience. Yeah, I would love for Gurbenkin to make this team. I just, nothing about his AHL production tells me he's going to bang down the door. Maybe he took huge steps this offseason and he's the next dude to kick, but we'll see. I would like it. I want as many new faces on this team as possible. It's more interesting from a content standpoint. We just have a lot more to talk about, and I love shiny new toys. There's just nothing about his AHL production that tells me, oh yes, top 6, top 9 NHL forward right now, without a doubt. Maybe one day.
I like Nikita Grabenkin as a
Yeah.
prospect. I think it was a good add to make in the Lawton trade. I just don't get the sense that he is entering camp with the tag of pre-camp favorite to make the team. Now, if he has a very good camp, he could make the team. He's played in the NHL. He's at least been a solid AHL player. He's physically ready. He's physically ready at least to hold his own, I guess is probably the better way to put it.
Yeah.
But I don't get the sense that the Flyers are looking at it as like, we need to get Grabenkin on this team because he is a great prospect and also we need him to be a friend of Michkov. I don't get the sense that's the way they're looking at it.
Like, I am expecting Bump to make the team. I think Luchenko has a real good chance. And after that, I'm like, I'm not like, I need Grabenkin here. That's not how I feel at this very moment. All right. I think we have 2 more super chats. Let's check this next one. From our pal Purple Crayon. This is Martone and Lindstrom will be a formidable duo at Michigan State. I would think so.
We know Purple Crayon loves his big tall
Yes.
dudes. So this would be a big tall line.
Yes, that will be a that is a formidable line just physically.
Yeah.
And they're pretty damn good. I would love to see looking forward to seeing Martone play in the NCAA. I'm hoping that we can get a ton of Michigan State games on TV somehow, whether it's through Hulu or whatever, because that does sound like it's going to be the team to watch this year with two pretty highly touted Flyers prospects on it. All right, and I think we have 1 more. 2 more again. They keep coming. Bree says that's once we start reading them, people start sending more. From Justin Chiccini. Where would you rank Martone over Flyers prospects since 2015? Like a top 5 since 2015 based on hype right now.
Yeah, Justin, this is like an entire show. This isn't the kind of thing you throw in at the 102 mark. Like I mean, definitely below Michkov.
Yes.
And I would say probably below Nolan Patrick too. Aside from those two, like do you think he's getting more hype than Provorov did? Or is it around the comparable levels?
Probably comparable. Did we expect I'd have to like go back and listen to the shows, honestly. Like some what would they have been? Like Sons of Penn shows at the time? Like, were we expecting Provorov to make it out of camp? Did we think it would be 1 more year? I think we wanted him and TK to make it, and it was like, oh, they're going back. I don't remember, but he's definitely below, like you said, Patrick and Michkov, and we'd have to kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, I would guess 3. I would say that it would probably go Michkov, Patrick, Martone over Provorov. Provorov was the 7th overall pick, Martone 6th, and Martone was the 6th overall pick that could have went as high as 3, whereas Provorov kind of was taken in his like expected range. He was supposed to go in that 6 to 10 range. So I feel like the hype around Martone is a little bit higher than the hype around Provorov, but it is comparable. I would put them in that same realm. And then everybody else, like Konechny definitely below, Farabee, York, Rubtsov definitely below, Forrester below. Cutter is maybe the only one. So would you say Cutter had similar hype to Martone? Because he's the other big name.
I feel like the Cutter hype really got going after the fact.
I think people are more excited about Martone right now than they were a month, 3 weeks after the draft when they took Gauthier.
I was high on Cutter, but I remember you were like, I don't know, I had a couple guys ahead of him. Like,
yeah, I had Jiricek over him.
You maybe weren't head over heels about the pick the way like, oh, Porter Martone. Yeah, maybe I would have preferred Higgins, but yeah, he's like BPA probably, like 1 of 2 best players available, where maybe that wasn't the thought immediately after the Cutter pick, but then the hype kind of built as he had his season. All right, I think we have 1 more now. From Matt Stranger. Best hockey show on YouTube. Thanks, PHLY team. Flyers fan from South Dakota. All right.
Love that.
I love finding out about fans elsewhere. Like, I think our audience is, the Philadelphia media market, but really it's YouTube, so it's anywhere. It's a Flyers fan in Australia or South Dakota or freaking anywhere. So that's really awesome to hear. And I think that does it for the Super Chats. So that'll do it for us today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, got to hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on YouTube. Hit the like button. I can't see the like total. I bet it's not high enough, though. Hit the like button. Follow us here. Set that reminder bell so you get notifications whenever we go live. We'll be back tomorrow at noon with Tuesday Reviews Day, Season 1 of Shoresy. If you haven't watched it yet, I'm asking for like 3 hours of your time. You can knock it out tonight if you really want. All right. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. Check out all the socials and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. Now we're done. I'm Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. And be excellent to each other.
We all silly like the mayor.